It's finally time to enable ourselves to be able to actually attack these enemies. So what we want to do is open up our NPC health script, which again you can open through the asset panel here or by clicking into one of your enemy objects. We want to start by giving yourself a little space at the top and adding a public integer variable titled health. And we'll give that a default value of 100. As you might have guessed, that's going to be the value we use to determine if our NPC is alive or not. If its health is greater than 0, it's alive. Otherwise, we want to kill it. So in order to actually make it take damage, we're going to add this method at the bottom, and we're going to type public void take damage. And as with any method we call or create, we have to make sure we add these open and close parentheses. Inside the open and close parentheses, we want to add an integer damage. That will represent the amount of damage the script is intaking, and that's how we'll communicate with the enemy the amount of damage they're meant to take when they're attacked. So inside those open and close brackets, we want to write health equals health minus damage. That'll basically subtract our damage from our health, and as you know, we always will happen when you take damage. We then want to type get component in children, which means that it'll look for a component in one of the game objects to which one of its children, if it has this component, and we'll say get component text, open and close parentheses, because again, get component is a important or get component in children is a method, so it needs to have those open and close parentheses in order to call it. You'll say get component dot text equals to health dot toString, and again open and close parentheses. We do this because health is an integer value and text wants a string value. Strings represent like words, sentences. Any character or any number can be a string, but strings are treated differently from integers and floats. So we want to convert this to a string by using .toString. You may also notice that text here is underlined in red. That means that we don't know what text is. The reason for that is text is a special Unity object that is only available in the Unity Engine.UI namespace. So what we need to do is at the top of our script, you'll see where it says using Unity Engine. You'll hit enter and add using Unity Engine.UI and add a semicolon there. It's important to make sure that this is the exact same case as the one above it. So it might be easier for you to just highlight this, copy it and paste it, and then delete the backspace and just add a .UI. It's also important that the UI here is capitalized. After that, what we'll do is head down and add a conditional. So we'll say if our health is less than or equal to 0, we want to destroy the enemy. So we'll literally type destroy, and we'll type game object. Typing game object in this way with a lowercase g and a capital O tells the script that we want to use the game object to which this script is attached, which is the game object that represents our enemy in the game. And we're going to add a comma after that and a 0.5f. That will tell the destroy function that we want to destroy this, but we want to wait this long. We want to wait half a second. That's because it feels a little weird if right when you touch your sword to the enemy, it just disappears. It's nice to have a little bit of a delay so your character can complete his animation and then you see the guy die. What we now need to do is go back to our sword function, or our sword script, which if you don't have it up here at the top, you can click back through in your knight and find it through his skeleton all the way down at the bottom, but it's probably easier to just go through your project panel and double click it there. You'll remember I said earlier in this onTriggerEnter function we'd need to come back and add some stuff once we added our NPC health script. So what we're going to do now is say if vector3.distance, which is going to check how close two objects are, we're going to say if our transform.position and other.transform.position is greater than 2, or I'm sorry, less than 2, So other being our NPC and transform.position being us. If they're less than 2 away when this happens, we want to call on the other.getComponent NPC underscore health, which was the script we were missing earlier. Get component NPC health, our open and close parentheses, dot take damage, open close parentheses again, and give it our damage variable from the top. We'll add that in there and hit our semicolon. And then lastly, what we want to do is take our particle effect here and copy it and paste it into this. Or alternatively, you can just type it back out. Just make sure it's between these brackets for your new conditional, and then delete this one. We're doing that just because we only want this particle system to play if we are actually dealing damage to our NPC.